Alright team, quiet down. I brought you here today because we're making a new Suicide Squad movie. Yeah, we're only putting a "the" in front of it. People will understand. Oh, and we're bringing back some of the original cast. Viola Davis, Margot Robbie, of course, and Jai Courtney. But did anyone contact Will Smith? Anyone? I was supposed to text him? Oh, I didn't text him, so who is Will? What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review of one of my most anticipated movies of the year ever since I even saw first look images and even those trailers, The Suicide Squad, which hits theaters and HBO Max August 6th. A huge thank you to Warner Brothers for giving me the chance to view it early, and guys, in person in theaters is the only way you should watch this film, at least for right now, because it is amazing. So if you can safely get to a theater, I definitely recommend it on the big screen. It's directed and written by James Gunn, who is known for his Marvel films Guardians of the Galaxy Volumes 1 and 2, and it's starring Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, and even Sylvester Stallone. And this cast is stacked, guys, so there are so many more names that I didn't say right there that we will talk about in this review. And trust me, it's a spoiler-free review because, guys, please stay away from social media chatter as much as you can when it comes to plot details, because there's something that happens in this movie that you're going to want to be surprised for. Trust me. But before we get into my review, guys, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I talk about movies that are like this all the time. So if you don't want to miss out, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on that bell, y'all, and hit the thumbs up button if you're a fan of the Suicide Squad or just DCEU in general. And if you haven't already, go ahead and get loud down below in the comics and let me know what y'all think about this movie when you see it. Did you love it? Is it at your number one in the DCEU? And is it one of your favorite movies of the year? Because I can't wait to answer those questions and so much more. Alrighty, y'all, well, you know what? Let's get right into what I loved about this movie, because there's a lot to talk about here. And the biggest takeaway from this over 2-hour adventure is that James Gunn is given free reign to do whatever he pleases and delivers not only a worthy comic book movie, but the best action movie of the year so far. I am not kidding you guys. I mean, there's almost everything you could want from a comic book movie present in The Suicide Squad, and I absolutely loved the filmmaking from James Gunn here as well, and I liked how he used prosthetics, CGI, a lot of visual effects, and I do love that Polka Dot Man, for example, had this very realistic appeal, and I just think the costume design in general for all of our Suicide Squad members was excellent. So there's a lot to this movie on the technical side that helps bring it to life. I even found the CGI for King Shark to be flawless, but there's also some sensational bits of cinematography in this movie as well. There's this rain sequence in the last half of the film, and we saw that in the trailer and it looks so dope on the big screen, but there's an even better shot, I think, in this movie where we're watching two of our characters fight and the reflection is coming off of Peacemaker's helmet. So we're not watching the fight firsthand, we're seeing it reflected off of Peacemaker's helmet, and somehow I was even more intrigued than I thought I would be. So there's so much that works well here on the filmmaking side of things that helps elevate the Suicide Squad literally to another echelon for comic book films. I also love that they filmed on location because it adds to the authenticity of the film, and when it comes to the pacing of the movie, it's very high intensity, and I love these quick zooms that help match that pace, and these quality bits of editing in between all the action and comedy that helps keep this experience fresh. And one of the strongest areas of this film is how James Gunn balances both action and comedy. He does it effortlessly, and I love the fact that this film has a lot of added heart. I've always thought that James Gunn is a good writer, but here he flexes his muscles and gives us a chance to love our gang of misfits by the end of the movie. Seriously, there are some moments where I thought to myself, am I getting emotional in a Suicide Squad movie that is as brutal and graphic as it is? And the answer is yes. And don't get me started on the laughs, guys, because this is the most I've cackled in a theater since the pandemic began. But if you are coming into the Suicide Squad for action, don't worry, guys, you'll get a lot of that here. This film really does crank it to an 11, and it never stops. I loved this extended opening intro, which was so action-packed, and it showed our Suicide Squad storming this beach in Corto Maltese, and it was a very nice, soft introduction to some old and new faces. Jai Courtney just fits right into this film as Boomerang, and also helps ease the audience in who might be confused about the 2016 Suicide Squad movie and this film, which does basically ignore 99% of David Ayer's movie. So it's not a sequel, it's not a reboot, it's a continuation of, but they don't really address that too much outside of a maybe throwaway line by Harley Quinn later in the movie. But back to the action, guys, which is arguably the goriest big screen experience that I've had this year. I mean, James Gunn does not hold back, whether it be Peacemaker not keeping the peace or King Shark literally eating or ripping somebody's body in half. It It is just so intense, and then there are some moments where our Suicide Squad showcases their abilities, and it can get a little uncomfortable if you're not very good with gore. So if you get queasy easy, don't watch this film. But if you don't and you do enjoy a very no-holds-barred type of a film, you're gonna love the Suicide Squad just like I did. And I also love that even though this is a huge ensemble cast like we talked about earlier, each member of our Suicide Squad is given enough time to shine. Between Harley Quinn's solo storyline, because for a while she is separate from the Suicide Squad, all the way to Ratcatcher 2's very personal monologue about her father, this film has a lot of layers. I was really impressed with how the film even fit in an origin story for a lot of our new faces, like Bloodsport with his daughter, and King Shark with his longing for friendship, and even Polka Dot Man with his mother. But guys, there were some clear standouts here, and we gotta start that list with Idris Elba as Bloodsport, a character that I was actually really intrigued by the most coming into this film. Not only does the movie do well to develop his character early on during a very personal conversation with his daughter, played by Storm Reed, the movie gave Idris Elba a chance to branch out and be zany and hilarious. And I also love that they gave Idris some amazing action moments. The CGI work with Bloodsport as a character is amazing, how he can make weapons out of his own armor, it's insane. But I also love how he pairs up well with his co-stars, including Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. There's this screaming match they have and it's so intense. And then you have Ratcatcher 2, and I never thought I'd say that, but both of them have this amazing moment that might be my favorite of the entire film. And then there's Harley Quinn herself, played by Margot Robbie, and I say this a lot, guys, off camera, but this is quite honestly one of the most perfect castings in a movie that I've ever seen. And we knew going in, at least I knew going in, that she was going to be great as Harley Quinn because, guys, Birds of Prey, if you haven't seen it, fantastic, and she was the best part of that 2016 Suicide Squad movie, but she is so excellent here, and I love the fact that James Gunn gives her character, well, more of character development here. I love it. Basically continuing what we got to see in Birds of Prey in terms of that character arc and basically humanizing Harley Quinn herself. Margot Robbie really does carry this movie when it's needed the most in the middle of the movie, and we'll talk about that later, but guys, again, she is just great and I love that build up to her big action sequence. I also really love Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher 2, who is one of the most interesting characters of the entire film, and for me, a character that I think I empathize with the most. Daniela Melchior really does steal the movie for me, and I thought it would be King Shark, but it really is this performance. It brings a lot of heart and soul to the Suicide Squad. And I loved her chemistry with Bloodsport and King Shark, who is, as we know, voiced by Sylvester Stallone and does an amazing job in this film, but Daniela Melchior just blew me away, and I just love the fact that her character arc really was fully realized in this one movie alone. And I could just go on and on with this cast, honestly, guys. John Cena as Peacemaker, who really surprised me because I didn't enjoy his acting in F9, but here, he is just a totally different character and a totally different actor. Yes, he's swinging for the fences with every line of dialogue and he's always trying to be funny, but it works, and I love that awkward humor sometimes, and I'm not gonna lie, there are some on-the-nose jokes that he just really delivers very well, so John Cena here is surprisingly one of the best parts of the movie. And then you have David Dastmalchian's depressing yet hilarious performance as Polka Dot Man. And even though I'm not a big Doctor Who fan, you have Peter Capaldi as Thinker, and then, guys, there's even this lovely rat named Sebastian who is always next to Ratcatcher 2, and guess who that rat is voiced by? D. Bradley Baker. If you're a fan of Avatar: The Lost Airbender, you'll know exactly who that is. Whew, okay guys, so let's move on to the negatives in this movie, and trust me, I don't have a lot. I only have 2 negative notes. And let me preface it by saying this. While I have no issue with the length in this movie, I do feel like that 2-hour and 12-minute runtime is felt at certain points in the film. The first moment I kind of felt the runtime was at the beginning of the second act, where the movie pumps its brakes very quickly, and instead of punchline after punchline, we get a slower pace that makes us focus on the story rather than the humor. And that's not a bad thing, trust me, I appreciate the shift in tone, but it was a little jarring, and I don't think the film necessarily flowed into that less humorous, more action and grounded approach, and I love it in retrospect, but in the moment I will tell you that it was a little bit of a drag, honestly, and it felt at that moment like, okay, why exactly did we shift tones as quickly as we did, and it didn't feel as seamless. And then the second moment was when I felt the length in the third act, guys. The climax of this film to me is unfortunately underwhelming compared to the rest of the movie. They do rush to the finish line and try to cram in some big character moments and also a big boss battle, and I will tell you I don't think it was as engaging or as interesting as the rest of the movie. And the only other drawback in the Suicide Squad for me was this. Starro is not a convincing big bad guy or alien. I thought that they were laying down some very interesting bits of groundwork here with giving us a little bit of an origin tale for Starro, but I don't think they ever fully committed, and we go long stretches without really going back to the root of the problem with having Starro on Earth. And I think that the idea of having a kaiju in a comic book movie sounds awesome, but I'm just not a fan of how they executed the reveal. And once that spectacle of Starro and how big he is kind of just washes away, I was left feeling a little hollow by the end of that fight. And maybe that's because I was desensitized to whatever James Gunn was throwing at us next, but the entire scene just felt rushed to me, and it didn't help me feel at least a little bit intimidated by Starro. Although, like I said guys, those are the only two negatives that I had for the Suicide Squad. Other than that, it is one of my favorite movies of the year, and overall I think it's one of these experiences that you're not going to want to miss out on in 2021. James Gunn delivers the Suicide Squad movie that he wanted to bring to the table. There were no limitations, it seemed, and he really had time to flesh out all of our characters. I loved seeing the chemistry among our cast and how they took this script and made it their own. There was never one moment where I thought, oh, this performance isn't as good as this performance. Instead, everyone had A to A plus performances in this movie. And it also sets up some very interesting groundwork for the future of these characters. One in particular, Peacemaker, who is expected to be getting his own series on HBO Max next year. And if I had to rate this movie, guys, it would be a 4.5 out of 5 stars because it's that enjoyable, it's that much fun, and it really is one of the most exhilarating experiences I've had in a movie this year. So there you have it, guys. That is my real review of The Suicide Squad. Again, a film I highly recommend, and it might be right up there with Wonder Woman and Birds of Prey for my favorite DCEU movies of all time. But hey, I need to know what you guys think of the film, so when you see it, let me know down below in the comments. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on that bell so you don't miss out on any reviews for movies and TV just like this. Y'all, it has been so much fun talking about the Suicide Squad. Maybe I come back and rank all of these characters. I kind of want to do that now. Put that on the docket. Put that on the docket, guys. I don't know who I'm talking to. Alrighty, again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening.